I'm Carrie Adams, and you're listening to Carrie's Connoisseurs, coming to you from Solid Gold Podcasts. Here we talk to the movers and shakers, the drinkers, the dreamers, and all the people who make it happen in the liquor and luxury industries from around the world. Good morning, everybody. It's Carrie's Connoisseurs. It's Wednesday, the 30th, I'm told, of July. Thank you for joining us. I've got Jeremy Sampson in the studio with me, and for those of you who don't know Jeremy, I can't believe anybody doesn't know you, especially with me. If they know me, they know you. Jeremy and I have been doing this kind of thing for a very, very good long time, and it's that time of year when we needed to catch up on a couple of things. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Jeremy is the chairman of the world of brand finance.
In Africa.
Not really. He keeps on telling me I've got to say in Africa, otherwise we're going to be hauled over the coals. Jeremy is brand South Africa as far as I'm concerned, and anybody who needs to know anything at all about branding, and it is important, even in this strange, crazy space that we live in, which happens all through a screen. I think I've got a brain tumor from this thing, and I think there has to be recourse against somebody. It's got nothing to do with my addiction to social media or anything. Jeremy, thank you for coming in. You sent me an email a little while ago, which brought us up to speed once again on the world's most, or the rankings of the world's most popular wines and spirits, i.e. the alcohol that we drink. What do we like to drink the best? What do we like to drink the best?
Carrie, first of all, so good to be with you again.
Yes, always.
You're looking well and bubbling along, which is great.
Yeah, we do. Regardless, rewardless.
Well, we try. Yes, for those who don't know, Brand Finance, London-based, represented in, 25 countries, been doing it for 30 years. And apart from anything else, we're like management consultants when it comes to brands and branding, lots and lots of chartered accountants. So we can actually tell you the financial value of brands, and we can look at the reputation and the brand strength of brands, but that's across the board. So not just wine and beer or whatever.
I know.
Everything.
It's an amazing business, actually. I remember reading up about a brand finance once because I'm so fascinated by branding because there's a very big divide between marketing and branding, contrary to popular belief, actually. So there's sales, marketing, branding, advertising. They're all different little goodies, aren't they?
Absolutely. And niches are very important.
They are very important. And if you're starting a business that you want to catapult, you need to know those differences. And I never understood them until much later in life. I was too busy selling wine and beer, I think, to worry about all of that. But branding is incredibly important. And I often wonder, not to detract from online presences too much, but I don't know if it's just me and I maybe am getting older, but I feel like there is a sort of move back towards some old-fashioned kind of branding, advertising, making making things happen. And I had a very interesting breakfast meeting this morning before you and I had to come here. And we were talking about the value of networking. And you know, all those years ago when I was, before it was X, when it was Twitter, my Twitter handle was your network is your net worth. It was quite a bold statement from a 30-year-old or something at the time. I don't know where I thought I got that from. Maybe I stole it. I think I maybe stole it from, Bill Gates or somebody much smarter than me. But as you get older, networking is completely and utterly the fulcrum of a successful business. And I sort of make us sound really old when I say in our day, but sort of in our day, networking was so much easier. If you came to me and said, Carrie, I'm starting a bricklaying business, I say, you know what? I know Joe Soap down the road. He did such and such. I'm going to phone him. I'm going to tell him that you're a friend of mine. Go and see him. He'll help you. I never said, I want 10%. I want a slice of your business. I'm going to target you if you don't cut me in on the next job you get. It was literally a caring and sharing type of network that we had. Nowadays, it's not sort of like that anymore, except that I feel a big swing from young business people back to that old-fashioned networking kind of thing. Am I right? Am I wrong?
I think it was Fortune magazine that said about 2 years ago there were more people who were becoming entrepreneurs over the age of 50 than under the age of 30.
I also saw that.
Now, I might find that's changed in the last couple of years because of the whole digital AI, ChatGPT. But often guys who've had a career, been let go at 45 or 50, have got to make a living. And what do? They're forced to go into business.
And to rely on their network.
And whoosh.
Yes, I know.
And they've got a network. Whereas the guys who are under 30, perhaps their network is their school or university.
But they don't even go to school half the time.
Well, that's the other thing.
They do school at home. The network of a Gen Zer, and I'll probably be shot down in flames here, but I feel sorry for them because I think it must be a really lonely place. It's the four walls of their bedroom. We had a sorority. I mean, I had a varsity network, a school network, a job network, a million people to bounce off.
And that's where, if you watch certain American programs, there's a guy on CNN, Michael Smerconish, who's often on a Saturday morning, and he's talking about all the problems of the Gen Zers in the States. Exactly as you've said. They're not sociable. They haven't got partners. No. They don't want to get married. They don't know what sex is about, and they sit in front of their computers, and that's their conversation. Totally two-dimensional. And he said a lot of this has come about since Facebook, the last 10, 15 years.
And I don't think COVID helped either.
Well, exactly. But look at the things that are coming out of the woodwork now as a result of this. Socio problems.
There's a huge increase in suicide. There's a massive increase in depression and psychological illnesses as a result of it. I need to get hold of the blokes who did that COVID thing. I was an anti-COVID person from the start. My friends thought I was mad. How did we get onto this? It's too controversial. Sorry, guys. We're going to start.
This is getting very serious.
We're not going to do it. We came to speak about.
But I want to respond to what you were saying about brand.
Yes, talk to me.
Because the guy who started Brand Finance, David Haig, he and I worked together at the end of the 1900s when we were both within a company called Interbrand, which is also London and international.
I remember Interbrand,
yes. And here we had Interbrand Sampson.
Yes.
And David Haig and I worked on the very first valuation of South African breweries. And so that was about 1997 or so. Yeah. And then David left Interbrand and started Brand Finance, as I say. But Graham Mackay was the CEO. Remember, South Africa was going through transition.
Yep.
Suddenly, he could look at the international world, and Graham Mackay said, right, what have I got? Because I own bits of Southern Sun and OK Bazaars, and because he couldn't spend his money. He had to keep his money.
Imagine that being your biggest problem.
And I don't know how many of
your money.
Your audience are sort of the born again under 30s. They wouldn't know about this. But anyway, Graham Mackay said, right, I'm putting all my money into the main area we understand, and that is beer. But I don't know what I've got when it comes to brands. Yeah. I'm told they're worth money. Well, how much?
And you did that job, didn't you?
We did the valuation, and David came out from London, and we worked together. And in those days, think of it, SAP had 8 brands, of which 4 were Castle.
I was going to say, so it was Castle. It was
Lion was still around.
Carling Black Label.
And Olsen's.
And
that was about it, because Castle was Lager Light, Draft and Milk Stout.
That's quite right. And Castle, and it was Lion Ale, wasn't it?
Yes.
Castle never made ale. Lion made ale.
Lion made the ale, and of course it was very big in the townships. You turn the bottle upside down. Number 17.
Yes, it was number 17.
So you'd have a number 7. But anyway, we did the valuation, and then he knew what he had. And then I think McKinsey got involved on strategy as well as Interbrand London, and I only heard this later. They didn't tell me at the time. So we did the project here, and then he said, right, I'm going to buy international brands. So he bought Pilsner Urquell, which was the first one he bought, and then the rest was history. Over the next 5-10 years, and then they went to Miller.
So he became big.
But it was based on the financial value, and this is where value is financial, and as you've alluded to, it's emotional. You refer to brands as my brands. That becomes,
100%.
You take ownership.
You do.
And the thing about a brand...
And you become quite possessive of them as well.
Well, yes, and if you go to a shop and you can't get it, will you leave it to go next door because you want it?
I'm quite cross with a lot of people who... And it's almost it was something I had on my agenda to ask you right at the end because it's quite inflammatory.
Ooh.
I'll ask you now, otherwise we'll forget. We're at that age where we could forget. So it's almost deliberate that when you find something that works, be it a thing for ulcers in your mouth. I'm very pedantic about my mouth. I clean my teeth. I go to the dentist 23,000 times a year. I can't stand because, you only get teeth and eyes, you only get one shot at.
But this is your whole health is determined often.
Yes. And because I'm tasting all the time, so I'm very pedantic about keeping my mouth very clean. And there was a product that you have to have that keeps ulcers and all those sort of things at bay in your mouth. They don't make it anymore. It's been made for ages. All of a sudden you go to the chemist and it's not made anymore. Mm. Then there's eye drops. You've got to have bright, shiny eyes. You can't have little red pistils in the snow. You've got to have bright, shiny eyes. You've got to get with it and see what's going on. There was an eye drop called Elbalon for 100 years. All of a sudden you can't get Elbalon anymore. Why do companies take away stuff that works and they replace it with stuff that doesn't work? Is it a horrible trick that we need to know about?
These big companies like Unilever, the turn of the century had 1,600 brands, and the edict was we'll cut it down to 400 because we can only support 400 brands, and we want global brands, and we want brands in the category that are like 1, 2, or 3 type of thing. Yeah. We don't want. So they sold off lots of things, and this is where the very big boys say, well, we want to have one ad campaign, basically, that almost can cover the world.
Oh, really?
And this is one of the problems, that, as you say, you get to know something. But also I get irritated, like the other day I went to the shops, and I go quite frequently because I want to see what's going on, and I wanted rusks. And I wanted muesli rusks. And I didn't want sliced
Should
muesli
we explain to the audience overseas what a rusk is?
Well, if you know Dorset knobs, it's like a double-baked biscuit. But I couldn't get it. And, and I went...
What rusk did you want?
I wanted Omar's rusk. And as I say, I wanted muesli, but I didn't want slice. And I couldn't find... And I wanted it in a big box.
You want the sort of bunish type rusk.
That's right. And I wanted it in a big box.
Mm.
I couldn't get it.
I know.
And I went to about 3 or 4 places. Now, I seem to recall it's the old Rainbow Chickens have now bought out some of the brands, and this is one of the brands, Omar's
really?
Rusk. It's still produced in Maltino, I don't know, down in the Western Cape.
Yeah.
But this is where it's irritating, because you want your brand now.
And why is there not more market research done? Why don't they send surveys out to be? Have you ever been asked to be on a survey for anything?
I actually have lots of times.
I haven't really.
Well, I'll refer them to you next time.
Maybe they know they're in for big trouble if they're going to be on the panel. But
well, I know one particular bank will never phone me back because I really gave it to them.
Did you?
The last time they called me. The inefficiencies of the big banks. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that there need to be some surveys and things, because I do think that a lot of what we have been forced to settle for now is second rate. And it's obviously because it's cost cutting and it's easier and it's quicker route to market, or it's whatever. There's very little care, thought and attention put into branding anymore. And it's something that you need to do something about, because I can sell wine. You have to do branding. And there's not much of it around. There's not much of good branding around. Successful companies have good branding.
And often it's the ones that are the most authentic. And they're boringly consistent. And that consistency and that boring authenticity gets into people's minds.
It does. I mean, familiarity breeds content. Well, it really does. It really does breed content, I think, as opposed to contempt.
We talk about the marketing funnel. Is it awareness, interest, desire, adoption, all these things? But brands now today can be bought and sold if they're separable. And this is where there's a huge business at the moment. Is it... Coleman's in the UK, or the mustard people,
yes,
are linked up with other things now. And apparently it was in the FT 2 weeks ago, that group is selling off brands because they don't fit, or they can't take them into areas which are mass production, shall we say. So this is where the manufacturers are looking from their perspective, but to hell with the consumer very often.
And the consumer, I come from a place where sort of east-west, the customer's best,
Well,
customer counts.
When you have that interaction as you have with people. You talked about a network. You have lots of people who, if they think wine, they think you, and they'll come only to you because they trust you.
Yes.
And that's that trust and that
that's
authenticity.
Branding yourself as a person, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And sometimes we don't even know we do, but it's the best advice I could give any young person. Don't sit in your bedroom behind your computer screen. Get out there and brand yourself, without being, tedious and an a-hole. You don't want to be that. But you do need to link yourself to something.
And as you say, with digital now, that's another channel to market. And with X and whatever, and Facebook and Instagram and all these things, yes, you might stay at home, but on the other hand, you could be with your phone, you could be out and about, you could be someone who is a motivator to buy someone's brands.
I like the word motivator as opposed to the ghastly word, what do they call it, influencer.
Yes.
Is there such a thing? I don't believe there's such a thing as an influencer.
There are, and they have.
But for what kind of people does an influencer work?
Well, often the Gen Zs.
Yeah,
Kim Kardashian, people like that.
Would
especially
you
in
really
the States.
place any store by that?
Well, not you and I wouldn't, but a lot of people would.
It's vacuous, empty kettle. It's sort of overt consumerism, isn't it?
But you
it's
talk
ugly
to your
and
son.
vulgar.
I've got, as you know, 5 kids. I've got 6 grandchildren. I talk to them. And they tell me what brands they're using. And they're totally different often to me and to you. It's the generation thing. But that's where a brand, if it can, has to span the generations. And that's the challenge.
I mean, can you imagine if Rolls-Royce had relied on an influencer when they first launched their first Rolls-Royce? I mean, that influencer would have been long since dead and gone.
But Rolls-Royce have realized they've got to get younger people involved. And that's where in the UAE and people like that, they're a very young, wealthy, and
they don't need, it doesn't matter, the age is immaterial. It's your bank balance, isn't it?
It's the money.
You need a quick route to a person's bank balance. It's a fascinating subject.
But this is where Rolls-Royce now is Volkswagen. Am I getting it? No, it's BMW. Volkswagen is BMW. Bentley is Volkswagen. Remember that?
But it used to be Rolls-Bentley, wasn't it? It was all one company.
It was all one company. And this was the big scandal in branding terms about 25 years ago, that when they bought the company, I think it was Volkswagen, they didn't buy the trademarks. The trademarks were separate.
Oh, really? And so is it no longer got an angel on the front?
Well, then it became a huge legal thing. And in the end, Volkswagen got, and I'm getting it right, Bentley, and Rolls-Royce
went to BMW or something.
Yes. And BMW in the UK at Goodwood has the Rolls headquarters.
But what's happened to the UK? You and I are really sliding off at tangents here. We're not talking about anything we were most supposed to be.
It's your show.
What's happened to England that they're not producing motor cars anymore? They used to produce some of the most gorgeous motor cars. There was MG, there was Morgan. There was Mini, little Mini.
Morgan is still being produced in Malvern.
Austin's, do you remember little Austin Healey, how cute that was?
Austin and Morris and Minis.
Yes. What's happened to Britain? I mean, they really have become a bit of a wet dream warmed up, haven't they?
Well, you look at Jaguar and Land Rover, they're owned by Tata, the Indian group.
I know.
They're still produced in England and purport to be English, but look at the nonsense going on with Jaguar now at the moment. And also there's the whole tariff issue of steel, etc., and imports from the UK into the States. No, Jaguar has stopped production for a year, and they said they're going to produce these new cars and they're going to target the United States. Well, suddenly now they've got a tariff on them, which they didn't expect and wasn't around a year ago. So the whole world is going topsy-turvy.
It is, but I think it's also very sad that, maybe it's not sad, maybe it's just sign of the times. Things move on, and what we thought was a good motor car is no longer a good motor car anymore. Maybe that's just how it happens.
But in England, what are they doing? They're producing wine. No, how many wine estates are there now? Someone said there are nearly 1,000 wine estates. Who would have thought of that?
What gives me hope is that somebody like Gary Jordan has bought a property in Surrey or Sussex. And he's one of the cleverest people I know. And he wouldn't have done that if he didn't think, listen, it's on the same latitude as France, if you think of it.
And the geology, I believe, is similar.
The geology is very similar, especially for the limestone sort of chalky soils, especially for Champagne. So it's tickets to the French champagne industry, really.
Well,
largely.
when you mentioned the bubbles, Nye Timber and Chapel Down are the two top ones,
Yes.
I believe, in that area where Gary is. And they're fantastic. And I believe even the Bollinger family is growing grapes now in England.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're just a little bit worried.
Well, how things change, isn't it fascinating?
I'll keep my premise because I haven't been there to do a vintage or harvest or anything. So I'll keep my premise. But I think that the rainfall might be a problem. The rainfall in the UK is much higher than that in France. I think, says she, not having looked at the stats. I'll look at the stats one day and it'll be quite an interesting program to do. But my tummy's telling me that there's too much rainfall, and I think that the vineyard management is going to have to be maximized to avoid rot and bacteria and mold and, all those sort of things that can happen in the vineyards.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The variance in the weather. This year, I was watching one of the strawberry producers, and he said he's had a vintage year because the way the rains came, but then it's been dry and lots of sun. And he said it's been a bumper year for strawberries and, in fact, fruit in general in the UK. Now, of course, they're onto hosepipe bans and all sorts of things.
I know. Or, they don't have rain for 3 days and they've got a massive drought in the UK. It's like the trades, those palms, they don't know. They love to complain, all of you. Jeremy, we're here to speak about this report that you sent to me. About the most valuable beer, wine and spirits brands in the world. That was released quite recently, and your company had quite a lot to do with it. So Corona Extra. The total brand value of world's 50 most valuable beer brands reaches $117.6 billion and is led by none other than Corona. Corona Extra. What's Corona Extra?
Don't ask me.
I don't know what Corona Extra is. It must be something that they only
I think it's marketing jargon. You have these different words that they bring out.
Corona at $13.4 billion. That is a lot of beer by anybody's standards.
But what is the clue? The clue is it's available in mass, and it's available around the world. It's available and it's there. You go into
tariff or no tariff?
Well, if I go into my local bottle store in Blue Centre, there's a display of Corona. Wherever you go, it's there, and you're seeing the ads or you're hearing about it. And, as you know, I'm not so much of a beer drinker. But on the other hand, I've seen the ads. Let's try some. And you pick up some.
So, excuse me. So is there a rule of thumb that Joe Soap is sitting watching here from his 4 rooms? He's a Gen Z. He wants to start a business. He wants a product. He's going to start a business. And is there a little sum that he can do that says, if I had a $13.4 billion brand, how much of that would I have to spend on branding? Is there a sort of ratio of turnover to brand spend?
The best ratio is when you actually look at the revenues of a brand annually, how much would you spend on marketing? Because if you go and talk to PepsiCo down in Cape Town, they might say, well, we spend less than 2 or 3%, even though we're in fast-moving consumer goods. But if you do a product launch, it might be 4 or 5%.
On balance, though, if I've got a company that's turning over 50 million rand a year.
Let's say 10% as a round figure.
10%.
If you're into luxury, and luxury is across the board,
yes, then it's
you might be spending 20% plus. But you've got to, and this is one of the things when people talked about how many brands can we support. That's a crucial question.
Yes.
When people have 2, 3, 4 brands, I say, well, can you support all of them? Oh, no. Well, why don't you
focus on one?
and this, to me, is the South African disease. People have all this array of things. We don't have one strong, focused brand available globally as mass, as the Australians do with Penfolds.
I know. Listen, I think we were chatting a little bit earlier before we came on live, but in the olden days, and I really am starting to sound like an old fart with this when I was young story, but it's my reference book, so I draw on it. But KWV were quite good with their branding. the whole world knows about KWV brandy from South Africa. Distell have been good with their branding in so much as the Nederburg wine brand, was for many, many years recognized as one of the best loved wine brands in the world, not just in South Africa or wherever.
Yeah.
You have to excuse me. I think I'm getting flu. The whole of Johannesburg's got flu.
It's terrible at the moment.
Have you had it?
Yes, I have.
Have you? I
Knocked me out for
yet.
3 weeks as well. 3 weeks.
I haven't had it yet, but I feel. So, Distell were very good. They didn't push their own brand, being Distell, but they did push brands within their stable, which was Alto, Stellenrake,
Yes.
Le Bonheur, Nederburg. But Nederburg was pretty much the biggest one, and Nederburg is a massive wine brand still, I think. Sadly, there's no more Distell. Now we've got Heineken, and I don't think Heineken are too fussed or worried about wine at this stage of the game, are they?
I think you're absolutely right. No, the very big boys, which is the Heinekens, is a beer company. You think Heineken, you think beer. You know, Diageo is the biggest in the world.
Yes.
They don't really support wine too much.
They've never had a wine in their stable. You know, having said that, I think they had Penfolds once.
Did they?
I think they had Penfolds once, yeah.
And then you get into Pernod Ricard, who have got some wine brands.
Yes.
But when you actually look at the whole thing, Distell, which was from 2000, Stellenbosch Farmers Winery, and Distillers, which was the spirit side. And as you say, what's gone on? And Nederburg was right up there globally.
Yeah.
So it was SFW Distell and KWV. Those were the two ones.
They were.
And often with KWV, you had Ruderberg as well.
Ruderberg was huge. It was the single biggest export thing out of South Africa at one stage. If we're looking at these results from this report that you sent me, no low category continues to grow. Now this I don't want to hear. And it's you Gen Zs again. I'm going to have to do a big conference for the Gen Zs. We have a lot to teach these children. No low. Who wants a wine with no alcohol or low alcohol? Low alcohol we can still understand a bit.
My youngest daughter lives in London with a South African husband. They came out at Christmas. And a week before they arrived, there was a knock on the door and there was a box of wine delivered.
And you got all excited.
And I thought, yippee.
Is it something from Sussex?
I wish. And I opened up the box, even though it was addressed to Mrs.
Someone
Robinson.
else?
And there were these non-alcoholic wines
Oh,
in there.
no.
And in fact, of the box, I think they drank half. And I've still got half on my wine rack.
And they'll still be there in 20 years' time.
And I don't know about vintages, or I don't know if they're going to sort of rot the cork or what they're going to do.
Besides which, what's going to preserve them? You know, alcohol is a wonderful preservative.
But when you talk about non-alcoholic, I'm absolutely shocked that people like Guinness are selling a Guinness that is non-alcoholic.
Are they?
Yes. No alcohol in it. No, just as you have...
So even the Irish have fallen foul of this terrible practical joke that someone's
imagine
playing.
Guinness going non-alcoholic.
No.
Yes.
You know, I just think it's the same old nonsense, quite frankly. If you don't like alcohol, then don't drink it. Don't impose your non-alcoholic preference on my alcoholic brand.
But Graham Mackay at SAB and Peter Savary, his marketing director, and
I
I'm
remember
going back
Peter
a long time.
Savary.
Peter Savary said, I want my share of throat. And if you want share of throat, then you produce stuff that... No, KWV said to me, I don't know, 10 years ago, what should we buy? And it was about 15 years ago. I said, you need water. And they looked at me as though I was mad.
Yeah.
I said, you've got your cream, which is taking on Amarula and Bailey's. You've got this and you've got that. You need water.
Yeah.
Because people will want to drink at times. And they laughed. And then I had a similar conversation on Ruderberg. Ruderberg, of course, we know, is red. Well, in Scandinavia, Ruderberg was big. They wanted a white.
Yeah.
And then they actually said to me, what else would you do? And I said, well, come on, guys. You know, if
Make
you
a
look,
Ruderberg Shannon.
I said, you need a blush. And they now produce a blush. So Ruderberg is available, I don't know if it's all in South Africa, but in Scandinavia,
I don't think so.
red, white, and blush. Because that's the basics, as you know. And then you might have 10. You know, if you look at that wine report, Barefoot from California,
It's huge.
I think it's
Biggest
got
wine brand in the world.
exactly, and I think it's got a range of about 11 or 12, from sweet, semi-sweet, dry rosé, all the way through. You can have whatever you want.
But they don't have a non-alcoholic.
I don't think they do.
So, no low category continues to drive growth, particularly in beer.
Well,
Brand finance data reveals no low beer drinkers twice as likely to be interested in running.
Well, this is the thing, that younger people, more lifestyle, more health conscious, and some of them think that alcohol is bad, or more than one drink is bad.
Oh, God, you're
them.
not allowed to do anything in a Gen Z
So
world. Everything's
work
bad.
rules in places.
Everything's bad. I mean, it's just, they'll grow. It's an emotional maturity thing. 6 Chinese, watch me get blown out of the water. 6 Chinese Baijiu brand. So that's Mao Tai.
That's Mao Tai.
That is it's like rocket fuel. Elon could use that. He wouldn't need any other fuel whatsoever. He could launch rockets to Mars happily with Mao Tai. It's made of sorghum.
But I think you've got 5 or 6 Chinese brands in the top 10 on
Tsingtao.
spirits. Yes.
Tsingtao beer.
Yeah.
Biggest selling beer in the world.
And this is where Chinese brands are taking over the world.
But don't you think that it's just because there's so many Chinese people? I mean, the population is so huge. If we had such a big population...
But in Asia generally,
then Amarula cream would be the biggest drink in the world, wouldn't it? And how nice would that be? Because it is delicious.
And ice cream sales would go up.
Tell everybody what you did last night. Late at night. In the still of the night.
I was feeling peckish and watching television. And
it wasn't because I'm there. There's no affair going on here, guys. He told me.
And it was quite chilly. So I actually found a little bit of brie from Thrups, which I had stuck in the fridge. And then I thought, well, going with that would be some Fairview ripe fig jam. Oh, and I had some Provita.
So nice.
And then I had some De Kraan's Cape Tawny. And I'll say port deliberately.
It is port. It is port.
I have to say that just having that as a snack before going to bed.
Did you feel like you could be king of the world?
Absolutely gorgeous.
Did you ever find?
And I thought, oh, of course. And I'm thinking, why do I not drink more port, especially in these cold evenings?
I know. We make such gorgeous port.
With De Kraan's, Beau Plus, KWD.
And Tawny is the best.
Oh, delicious.
Tawny is the best.
But with the cheese and the fig jam, I can salivate.
You don't need anything more, do you? So Moet & Chandon reaches the highest ever brand value at $2.1 billion in 2025. That's a massive success story. What's that bloke's name? I think he's one of the richest men in the world. Girls, we need to meet him. We need to find him. He's clever. He's quite good looking. He's rich. He's got Moet.
Mr. Arnault.
Arnault something or other.
And it's LVMH, Louis Vuitton.
It's Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. So there's some cognac and stuff as well. Yes.
And he now owns Tiffany's, and he's got
sounds
jewellery
like
and
a
luxury.
Real catch.
He's even supporting Formula One.
Formula One, yes.
And he's got about 5 of his kids all in the business. All
That's
in LVMH, yes.
That's good. I believe in family legacies in businesses. I think it works. Okay, so here we go. Tsingtao have entered the top 10 for the first time, while Guinness rejoins the top 10 for the first time. So we're just looking at the biggest worry about this report is that no low alternative, and I don't want to hear any of my South African children going no low. We're not going to do that here because we've got bigger hearts than that. Brand finance data shows that non-alcoholic beer drinkers are 68% more likely to be interested in sport. How much do you need for us to tell you to put out different sort of stats to that?
Well, this is where the Gen Z is. And it is fascinating when you talk, you talk to your son and you talk to family, how sometimes you go through life at different stages.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing a lot of sport, the first thing often in England, when I grew up, is, to be absolutely blunt, we couldn't afford.
No, we couldn't afford to get
We
drunk.
didn't have the money. You could go out and perhaps have a drink,
yeah,
but that was it. And then, of course, driving was getting more difficult as well. So, whereas here, and if you're living, of course, in London, you see people getting smashed, especially on a Thursday night in the city.
Jump in a cab, get on a train.
and you get home, you're fine. So lifestyles have changed, but with all the amount of sport and looking after your general health, and again, a lot of people are not drinking wine anymore. Consumption in France especially is going down tremendously. And if you are drinking wine and you're younger, or you're drinking rather, not just wine, you're having shooters and spirits, or as they say, you're permissive to move around and try a different thing. Like you don't drink wine all the time, you'll enjoy a beer or a gin and tonic.
I love the art and craft of alcohol making.
Yes.
I love the fermentation processes. I love the distillation processes. I love all of it, and I love the art of creating a beautiful product out of different natural things that happen to be alcoholic. But it's also, I think, got a lot to do with headspaces at this stage of the game. There's also a desperate need for moderation. And if you bring up your children to do everything in moderation, there's no need to stop drinking alcohol in order to be healthy.
Totally agree.
A little bit of everything is fine. But I do think that the millennial generation were balls to the wall. I mean, that was go big or go home. It was binge drinking. I had a son who was a millennial, and I still have him, actually. and it was alarming to me to watch the binge drinking that went on. Then you don't drink anything for a month, and then you become comatose one weekend, I don't remember doing that. I do remember getting a bit drunk sometimes. More than we should have done, but maybe once or twice in my life.
But much more moderation.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed it. And as I say, we were constrained financially often.
Financially, hugely. I mean, we couldn't even afford to pay the rent. We didn't get student loans. Well, we didn't get bursaries and scholarships.
No. And people forget that. Growing up in England after the Second World War, which is my generation, was very tough.
Tough for you.
And you had to fight your way through it.
Well, we all had 3 jobs. Whilst we were at school or varsity, we all went to work.
And you say that. When I qualified, I'd worked for a year in London, and Harold Wilson put a pay freeze on everybody. And people say, what do you mean a pay freeze? I said, just that. Everyone's salary was frozen.
He didn't earn any money.
So here am I, fresh out of graduating, and I'm stuck in a job with the Observer, and my salary will not go up. The only way it went up was because we were trade unionized. Yeah. We all had to join a trade union, being on a newspaper, doing design and writing.
You learned quickly about that, didn't you?
and your salary went up as we had a Fleet Street wage. It wasn't much, but it helped.
Yeah.
And people don't have long memories. They don't think back to those days.
I think that we do need to try and enter a phase of moderation again, find a middle road in everything, be a little bit more tolerant of one another. I mean, I make it sound as if I'm totally intolerant of everything. I'm not. I get it. The Gen Zs have got a something. The millennials have got a something. The baby boomers, the Gen Xers. I mean, we all think we're the best. We're not. And I don't know if anybody read my newsletter last month. I need to do another one, but I told you about Substack, and I don't know what to do with Substack. I'll learn. I'm learning about things like Substack.
Sounds challenging.
But I said if we could pop all of those generations into the NutriBullet and come out with a mixture of all 5 of them who are still on the planet, because I think there's all 5 of us left, we could have the most unbelievable, fun, productive human, couldn't we? If we took the best out of all those 5 generations.
If we could, but as someone said to me the other day, the world has gone mad. It's not going mad, it's gone mad at the moment.
Do you think it's any more mad than what it was?
Well, I've had someone arguing that no, it isn't. It's only because we've got digital and television and radio.
We can see it all.
We can see it all, and it's now. It's instant.
You become very South African. It's now.
Well, I'm trying to key in with the audience. But, this is where you have a prime minister saying one thing the other day, which everyone knows is not true.
Bollocks.
Because you've seen it.
I know.
And you've seen it is not true. And this is where it reminds me back to, I can remember back to, when was it, the 70s or 80s, when we still had the Russian bloc and Hungary and Czechoslovakia.
Oh, the Cold War, do you remember?
And I remember...
We used to have movies about Russian spies and things.
That sort of thing. But I remember Emil Zatopek, who was the great runner from Hungary, was leading a march, and the Russians were starting to beat them all up. And for the first time, they were able to bounce a TV picture over the border into the West,
Oh, wow.
and they were shouting in Hungarian at the Russians, "The world sees you, the world sees you."
Oh, really?
And it was back to that era. And today, the world sees you. There are satellites up there.
There's
Your
nowhere
friend,
to
Mr.
hide,
Musk.
is there?
There's nowhere to hide. So it doesn't matter what I say. If you've seen something different, you know I'm lying.
And you think that what you see is true, but it's not always true. Nothing's
It's not
true.
always true.
Nothing's true anymore. I don't think anything on here is true. It's, we've got
No,
like...
I wouldn't
we've
go that
got
far.
like... Well, you know what? You know me. I'm always a bit too extreme, but I think that it's so easy to be fake on a thing like this, where you don't have to speak to somebody, you don't have to account for it, you don't have to be real. You can just be a chaff person.
But the key thing is it live now? And if it is live now, and obviously that's debatable to start with, but if it's live now, they can't jig it. Whereas if they show you something 2 days later, a week later, you think, what have they been up to? Do they think we're stupid?
Yeah.
And that's
I
still
don't believe
happening.
very much
it's
on
still
here.
happening all the time.
I don't believe anything I read in the newspaper either, because the journalists will write a load of rubbish. It's badly documented. It's one-sided in a lot of
it's written by someone called AI now, I believe.
It's written by AI, yeah. Let's leave it. It's too depressing. Tequila. I think everybody I know drinks tequila. So the Mexican tequila brand Don Julio ranks 15th in terms of brand value, but emerges as the strongest spirits brand in 2025.
People love it.
Why? I think it's dreadful.
Well, this is where that report was written by a gentleman, Lawrence Newell, who's the brand finance man, and he's based in Dallas. But he has a home in Mexico City and he has a home in Dallas. And talking to him about drinking habits, and then if we talk just in Dallas, it's mainly beer, and it's fascinating. Again, he can talk to what's going on in these areas.
Yes.
And
and of course the population is big there.
It's huge.
They always say, if you get your wine brand into Texas and Florida, you don't actually have to have any other customers.
No. And, Texas is the fastest growing area of the States.
And we love cowboys.
People are moving down to Austin. I was there 2.5 years ago, and incredible what's going on. We went down to San Antonio. And we had a look
you
around.
went. That's quite right.
And it was quite incredible. And again, the vibrancy, because so many businesses like Elon Musk are moving down to Austin, to Texas, and setting up there. They're moving away from California. It's too expensive.
I just want to go for the cowboys. I love cowboys. And you know what I think? I think that our cowboys in South Africa are our Afrikaans farmers. I think those are our cowboys, don't you think? They do the same, so they've got their own dancing, they've got their own music.
It's a culture.
They've got, yeah. But the cowboy culture is gorgeous and they all look hot. I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, it's this. It's all got us.
Right, I won't comment on that.
No, don't. So tequila, Don Julio is a fantastic brand, I have to say. But I was in Mexico last year and I had the privilege of drinking some tequilas. They taste like whiskey. They taste like single malt whiskey, and they're gorgeous.
Oh, really?
They're beautiful. They're smooth. But most of the commercial tequila brands that we are drinking are rocket fuel. Not to be recommended for your overall health.
But you're making a very interesting point. Now, if you have a tequila tasting, I've never done that, but I've done a gin tasting, and I was sitting next door to your good friend and the doyen, Mr. Michael Fridgen. Miguel Chan was there as well. And we had a gin tasting, and it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Neat gin, the different brands.
Same with vodka.
And
you can taste the quality like that.
And you can taste it all the way through. And then, as you say, you get to the rocket fuel, and you think, why am I drinking that?
I know, because all you
just
do...
the aromas.
You're drinking the tonic, really, that goes with the rocket fuel.
And it was so educational and so enjoyable.
That's why I say the art of distillation and fermentation is so exact. It's so gorgeous. It's an art and a craft.
But has the gin craze now waned a little bit, do you think?
It's definitely subsiding, and I think that tequila, white spirits rule supreme in South Africa, and definitely tequila in the United States. Africa, lots of single malt. Lots of single malt whiskey and cognacs.
I'm amazed people can afford them.
a lot of money, a lot of disposable income goes into alcohol in Africa, on the African continent. I think that Nigeria has become one of the biggest champagne importers.
I've heard that.
In the world. America's the biggest by far.
But they drink it at room temperature as well.
Yeah.
Which in Nigeria is hot. No, Guinness,
very hot. The ambient
Guinness
temperature must be,
I believe champagne and Guinness are the two main drinks.
Yeah.
But in our rankings of the top 200 African brands last year, there were, I think, 11 Nigerian beer brands.
Yes.
None of which I'd heard of.
No, I don't know about them either.
Yeah.
But of course, everybody whinging and bitching and carrying on about tariffs and things. There's no difference, I don't think, between tariffs and the absolutely extortionate duties that are having to be paid into Africa.
Tariffs are a tax.
Tariffs are a tax, as are these excise duties and what have you. And let's just be quite frank. We were going to talk about those tariffs. There's no reason why America should be bearing the brunt. I had a big debate this morning with a very good friend of mine at a meeting early this morning. We were talking about tariffs, and I'm so sick of everybody whinging about tariffs. What rule was passed that said America had to carry the tariff crucifix? Why? Why do they have to? What about the rest of the world? And he said, no, after the Second World War, America was granted the duty of taking care of the rest of the world's economic balls. What absolute balls. Why must America do that? What do you think?
I heard a scary figure, and don't quote me, that the UK only finished paying back the Americans for World War II in about the 1970s.
I'm bloody sure.
And people don't think, because we're going in and helping, I don't know, the Ukrainians.
How much it's costing.
What's it costing? And
it's
how's it going to be
costing
fixed?
Actually the American taxpayer. Now, if you were an American taxpayer, you were a South African taxpayer. And Cyril said, guys, you have got to pay for us to feed the families of the people who've made the wrong casting vote in Rwanda. What would you say? It's got bugger all to do with us.
And paying R1 billion to the Cubans to come to South Africa, whether it's
to do a job
medical
or
mechanics or whatever, it's crazy.
It's bullshit.
Crazy.
Yeah, and there are ways of turning tariffs into, lemons into lemonade. There just are. There's a way of turning a lemon into a lemonade in any situation. And I'm sure we'll, as South Africans, be terribly industrious and very inventive. We come up with all kinds of solutions. We always have. But I do think that tariffs are not permanent. I don't think they're going to be a permanent thing. I think it's a desperate bid by the Americans to try and equalize what's going on. It's not fair that America should be responsible for all of that. I don't think. We've got China as a massive... India, massive industries. Why should they be supported? Why should America be supporting them? I don't understand the economics of it.
I think this is where things get out of kilter a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then suddenly you think, why has it done that? Why have we done that? We've got to correct it. But then, as you say, America, to many people, was like the biggest charitable organization in the world.
Huge.
Now there will be victims and there'll be nastiness.
Yeah.
But you've got to do it sometimes.
You have to try and rectify it a bit, I think. Europe must actually get itself sorted out.
But as you say, it can go up, but it can come down.
Yeah.
And where there are exceptions, like I feel very sorry for Lesotho as a little country, 50% tariffs, but hopefully it'll be corrected. But what it means as well is whoever's going to be the victim, they've got to state their case to the Americans.
100%.
They've got to have a conversation. They've got to be talking. And here we have in South Africa, and I've mentioned this before, I think, the guy who was meant to lead our delegation was held on ice for 3 months, waiting for his visa. Then he didn't get it. Well, surely the first thing is you check that you can actually make sure that guy is acceptable, even though he said nasty things about President Trump a few years ago. But who's doing it? Who's there? Who's having the conversation on behalf of South Africa?
I know.
And that's where I get upset, because this is government ineptness.
I think that the big thing is let's come to the table, and let's come to the table with an alcoholic drink and not a no-low drink, because we're not going to have any fun with a no-low drink, guys. Let's come to a negotiating table and have a party afterwards.
If I was to say to you, if you had your last night, as it were, what would be the thing you would drink?
I always ask the guys I interview. In fact, I'll ask you now. What's your death row meal?
Death row meal would probably be
And drink.
Welsh lamb, mint sauce,
Ooh.
roast potatoes, peas, and a really good Cabernet Sauvignon. Now,
From Stellenbosch.
well, how about Mr. Lariche or someone like that?
Oh, we could do Etienne's Cabernet, definitely.
How about that? Would that be a good one?
I think that sounds like a brilliant one. I always ask people what their death row meal is.
And, you know,
It's a big think.
it makes you think, and, you know, this is where, depending on your mood as well, but we have, no, let's talk South African wines. We have so many fantastic ones. You know that I prefer Chenin Blanc a lot of the time.
And have you seen some of the Chenin Blancs that are coming out of the other day? I had such a lovely surprise. I was on my way home from work and I got a phone call to say, "Where are you?" And it was none other than my darling Duncan Savage, who I just think is one of the best winemakers. He's one of the best winemakers in the country at the moment. And we had a chat, and I've got a very exciting project on the go at the moment for everybody that I'm going to tell you about in due course in dribs and drabs, and Duncan's part of it. Craig Vessels will be part of it, and it's about soil regeneration, because I think that the more we enhance our soils, and that's where I am very much with the Gen Zs, let's put all that stuff back into the soil. I think sustainability in farming is very important.
But I think Duncan Savage,
and Duncan's just spearheading stuff like that.
He's very special.
And we talk about the Chenin Blanc Swartland, the Swartland Chenin Blancs. They're delicious.
I did a lot of work with Stellenbosch University for a time, and Wim de Villiers, who was then still the dean, he gave us all a bottle of, I think it's called the Chancellor's Pinotage. He gave us all a bottle. And if anyone gives me a bottle, I like to give a bottle back.
Yes.
And I gave him back a bottle of Duncan Savage.
Oh,
I won't say which one, but it was
a big spoil.
But and I bumped into Duncan at one of the wine tastings up here last year, and where, what is he, 6'2", and he just came
gorgeous.
Bounding up and said, "Oh, haven't seen you for a couple of years. How are you?" He's such a lovely guy.
But all those boys,
but what a fantastic,
Ibn Sadi, him,
what fantastic ambassadors.
Wonderful.
For South Africa, not just wine, for South Africa.
100%. They're wonderful. So we're going to be fixing up the soil. We're going to be doing all. If I was to say to you, what is South Africa's number one brand, Jeremy Sampson, king of branding? What is South Africa's number one brand?
Wine brand.
Any brand.
Oh, any brand.
What's our best brand in the country?
It's a very interesting question, because one of the best global brands is Nando's.
Our darling Brosens.
The Brosens.
We haven't even got a drink to say drink to Robbie and Laurie Brosen. They were such boys, aren't
they? What they've done through Nando's, but when you actually look around, we haven't got, in wine terms also, is Rupert and Rothschild there? Is it Chocolate Block? I don't know.
Chocolate Block is. I mean, we have to hand it. Lots of people are very rude about Chocolate Block, but it is it's an extraordinarily successful brand.
And Buchenholz-Kloof, generally what they've done.
But that's also owned by a brand man, by a marketing sort of agency.
Mr. Lascaris,
Reg Lascaris, yes, can't really go wrong.
And that just shows you, though, the impact they've made.
It works.
And you've got Manfred Gott now as the main winemaker, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's fantastic as well. So they've got a fantastic, and you've got to have a whole team, as we know.
So branding, the best South African brand ever, you can't think of one off the top of your head.
I have to stop and think,
I'm trying to think what I would say it would be. In the olden days, it was Sunny Skies and Chevrolet, really, wasn't it?
That's even before my time.
But Chevrolet wasn't even a South African brand.
But when you think of brands that have come and gone, brandy brands, tobacco brands,
Yeah, or Dr. Rupert. Peter Stuyvesant.
Well, exactly.
I can remember as a little girl, we used to go to the movies, and there were those Peter Stuyvesant movie tone news things. Do you remember? They used to have those ads. They looked so glamorous with gorgeous girls on speedboats and handsome men smoking cigarettes.
I wasn't in South Africa at the time, but when I arrived, I remember seeing those ads, and they were so different. But, when you think that also, who sponsors sport? It was tobacco, it was alcohol.
Now it's booze.
No.
Isn't it SAB?
Now it's betting. Betting is supporting
things. Oh my gosh, yeah, but SA Breweries does a lot for that.
Oh, they do, yes.
Castle does all the rugby, doesn't it?
Rugby and cricket, yes.
Yeah.
And still, Castle to a lot of people is the national drink of South Africa.
Yes.
You go to Kenya
in fact,
and it's
if we
Tusker.
thought brand South Africa, it would probably be Castle Lager, wouldn't it?
I think probably it would, but remember, it's not an international brand. It's virtually purely South Africa.
If we're just thinking South Africa, I think it would be Castle. What do you think it would be? Let us know what you think South Africa's most powerful brand is. Omar Rusks. Mrs. Balls.
I think Castle, well, the Springboks, of course.
The Springboks.
The Springboks would be, in many ways, to a certain strata, the
especially
brand.
now with the massive mania around rugby.
Well, people say,
very
who would you think
encouraging.
of for South Africa? Nelson Mandela, but to some people, someone like a Gary Player from the past.
Yeah,
These
he's
are
a
the
mensch.
personalities. But as you say, today I think it's the Springboks. And let's face it, sport is still
Sport is a huge
absolutely
unifier,
huge.
yeah. Jeremy, we've spoken about everything from COVID to ripping off the Gen Zs to pulling everybody else to pieces to tariffs to overall. What's your favorite drink at the moment? You're only allowed one. That's what favorite means.
a Chenin Blanc.
No, that's too broad. Which Chenin Blanc?
Well, a DMZ or a Copsic.
You are so slimy.
Or Moulin if I can afford it, but Kloof Street is pretty good as a second brand.
It is.
And
So Chenin Blanc is your current favourite South African drink?
I think so. And when it's a bit colder, switching into more the reds. And KWV, as I've often said on this program, are fantastic value.
They
Like the Ruderbergs. What are they? Under $100 a bottle still.
They are. So for the now, until I see you again, it's Chenin Blanc. And your favourite meal, South Africa? Favourite place to eat?
I haven't got a favourite place to eat. And we don't go out at nights anymore, but we go out and have a good breakfast.
So where do you go
Someone
for breakfast?
like Olives and Plates.
Olives and Plates in Hyde Park, nice.
And is it the Embassy or I always get, yes, it's the Embassy.
Have they got one there?
They've got one there, and you can sit outside and have a look at the backside of the American Embassy and across to Sandton City and Discovery. But that is very nice.
Yes, I have been there, actually. I have been. So it's breakfast, no longer meals. It's becoming old. I'm not going to let you get old. My sister and I decided this year that we were not. It was Clint Eastwood, I think, who said he was interviewed and he was 94 or something. And he's still gorgeous. He was my favourite cowboy, I think. And he was interviewed on his 94th birthday and he said, no, he looked at himself in the mirror when he got to like mid-60s and he promised himself that he wouldn't let the old guy in. I'm not going to let you let the old guy. We can't let the old guy in. You got to go out at night. Go out for dinner tonight. Take Sharon out for dinner tonight.
This
Jeremy.
is where I live in the Ilovo area. There
It's
are
safe.
so many fantastic restaurants.
I know.
No, the Fishmonger, Master Antonio,
Jump in an Uber and
Bellagio,
go.
they're all there. It's incredible. And that's where, northern Johannesburg has got so much to offer.
There's so much. There's theatre. There's all kinds of things. I'm not going to let you let that old guy in. You're taking Sharon out for dinner tonight. Jeremy Sampson, you are just such a pleasure always. I love seeing you. I love shooting the breeze with you. We've spoken about everything and anything and probably nothing at all. But enough food for thought for everybody. Let us know who you think your favourite brand is in South Africa. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.